Hey, it's Willie Crawford here, and I'm basically doing an impromptu live stream just because I was out doing a walk a few minutes ago, and as I was out walking, I thought, it'd be sort of neat for me to share some thoughts with my Facebook audience at this time. And so I see you guys chiming in fairly quickly. John Carter just joined me, and Andy O'Brien, and Susan. So I appreciate that. Susan Cavatao and Alan Visconti from North Carolina. It's like, whoa, they're just popping up left and right. I thought I would do a broadcast or a live stream on the topic of how I do this seemingly impossible and why life doesn't have to be a struggle. Um, I looked at as I was walking out, going on my walk, I looked around at what was happening in my hometown, which is Niceville, Florida. That's where I retired from after I got out of the military back in 2003. And they're already putting up holiday decorations. And I talked to some of the city workers. I said, wow, you guys already have Christmas decorations up. And I said, when are you going to turn on the lights? And they said, December 1st. And I go, that's good, that you're not turning them on way too early, but December 1st is still early for me. And I thought about the fact that most Americans, I don't know about a lot of other cultures, but a lot of Americans will go out and they'll get themselves deep in debt this time of the year. And I look at the fact that I won't do that. And that's one of the things I'll share with you. And what I want to do is I want to share with you how I deal with life and how I've sort of managed to handle a lot of life's challenges, but a lot of people struggle with some of the same things that are no big deal to me. And I thank you, Chuck, for joining me, and Ken McKenzie and Charlotte. I see you just popping in. And that's one of the beauties of live streams, I guess, is that you never know who's going to join you. And so I never know how to dress. Right now I'm on my laptop. I have ordered a banner I'm going to put on the wall behind me, so when I do broadcast, it'll look more professional. Right now, my background is have my flag box. Tomorrow's Veterans Day that was given to me when I retired from the Air Force. I have a second flag box, which was given to me when I was stationed at Hickam Air Force Base in Hawaii. This was actually flown over the USS Arizona Memorial. For those of you who are old enough to remember, December 7, 1941, the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor and Hickam Airfield and brought us into World War II. That same day, they attacked Iba Airfield in Zambales in the Philippines, which is where my wife is from. And so they pulled us into the war, basically, but they did it partly because they felt that they had to protect their supply line, since we had a lot of control over the Pacific, and they were worried about the oil being cut off, among other things. So they sneak attacked us. And so I have a lot of history, and I've got a book here from my friend Kathleen Gage, who's been a friend for many, many years. Practically every book in my library is personally signed. So Kathleen autographed the book for me. And so I have like probably 1,000 books in my office right now, and as many cassette tapes and videotapes and things like that. I'm an avid reader and a learner. So I'm forever learning. I think that, when you stop learning, then you start moving backwards. And so I learn. See, my cousin Gloria just joined me. Welcome, Gloria. And since I'm showing stuff on my shelf, the other thing I have is these are essential. This is an essential oil. This one is basil, which is the same basil Italian foods are used. And I have become, over the years, an expert on herbal remedies and essential oils and plant extracts and things like that to use in treating illnesses or preventing illnesses. I know probably 300 plant extracts or essential oils that I've studied the chemistry of. I know how they interact in the human body. I know that if you're on certain medications, you shouldn't take this because it blocks the way it works. For example, if you're on some medication, you shouldn't eat grapefruit or take grapefruit extracts because that interferes with it. I know if you're on thyroid medication, there are certain things you shouldn't ingest because it interferes with it. And so I actually consult with people who have illnesses and they're looking for a natural remedy for it. And I have a Facebook page on that I'll post a link to that below and encourage you to join me. I have numerous Facebook pages because I have pages on different topics. I normally do my broadcast on my Facebook page for marketing because I teach marketing. I teach people to build businesses online. And I've got close to 5,000 Facebook friends, probably 4,000 followers across various social media channels. I'm connected with several million people, which is very powerful. But on Facebook, I felt the need to keep my audiences separated. Most of my relatives aren't interested in marketing, building a business, and most people aren't. They just want to talk and be social. It's called social media. So, I try to keep those separate. But with this broadcast, I made the topic how I do the seemingly impossible and why life doesn't have to be a struggle. So I'm going to dive into that, and I'm going to share with you some things that might be difficult to wrap your mind around, but shouldn't be. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to invite you to reach out to me and ask me to pull you into a private Facebook group I have. And the reason it's private is because I don't need all the drama in my life. I control who's in my universe, if you will. And so, I care about politics and religion and all this stuff that's going on in my country. As a soldier who fought for my country, I care about my way of life and all those things, but I don't engage in the drama because I'm just not into that. That shifts my energy too much. And if you understand quantum physics and a lot of things that I do, then you understand the need to protect your thoughts, among other things. I control what is in my world and how I think and who influences my thoughts and things like that. Most of my mentors or people who influence my thoughts are actually multi-millionaires or billionaires. Three of my heroes are Jeff Bezos, who has Amazon.com, among other things. And Jeff is worth, $150 billion. And to wrap your mind around that, a billion is 1,000 million. Bill Gates, who's worth close to 100 billion now, as is Warren Buffett. Bill and Warren both give away a lot. Billions of dollars a year. Warren gives away about 90 to 95% of what he earns every year to charity. And I think Bill and Warren have as goals to give away their fortunes to charitable causes. They realize they're not going to live forever. Warren's 83 right now, I think. And he said, my goal is just to give away everything I have when I die. He's made provisions for some relatives and things like that. But at some point when you're successful, you realize I don't need to make money anymore for myself. I have all I need. I can never spend it all. And my goal is to be at that point myself one day, and then to focus more on giving than on receiving. And you'll see me post more on that in future posts on Facebook and social media and on future broadcasts. But today, I was thinking about this. I can go out right now and I can buy a $5,000 diamond ring and I can sell it for $3,000 and still make a profit. I can buy a $5,000 diamond ring, sell it for $3,000 and still make a profit. And you think, how can you do that? I'll explain that in a minute. I can buy a really nice greeting card that might cost you $5 in your neighborhood card shop, and I can send it to a friend or anyone, be a first-class mail, anywhere in the world, for less than 33 cents. Less than 33 cents, and that includes first-class postage. Now think about that, because I'm making some extraordinary claims here. First-class postage in the United States is about 50 cents. If I send something internationally, then it's based on where I'm sending it to. I can send a greeting card that's top quality, that has my own pictures on the front and on the inside, and has my own words on the inside and on the front, if I wanted to put it there, and has my own logo on the back. Where you go and you buy a Hallmark card, Hallmark's logo is on the back. Well, my logo, I have a choice of logos, but I often will put, a logo like the one I'm going to have on my wall behind me when I get my logo from the printer. it's on the card. So people, when they get a card from me, I'm about to start coughing because there's some crud going around in the air right now. So I'm gonna take a drink of water. I keep water near my desk because a lot of people say we're 80% water. I say we're more like 95% water because even the solids in our body, like our bones, the molecules are composed largely of water. So water is very important. And as a trained platform speaker, I also know that if you put lemon in water, it helps to soothe the throat too. So that's why I do that. But I'm going to show you how I send those cards for less than 33 cents anywhere in the world today. And actually, I'm going to post a link to a video on that below this presentation. Another thing is, we go into the holiday season, the majority of Americans probably are already, not the majority, but a lot of Americans are, and my throat's still cracking. A lot of Americans are already up to their neck in debt. And we have more debt load than at any time in history, I'm pretty sure. And I'm an economics major. A lot of us will go into the holiday season, we'll buy a lot of presents and give them to people that we don't even like. And sorry. And we'll spend money we don't have. So stores are all too happy to, when you go to checkout, one of the things they ask you is, do you have our credit card? If you say no, would you like to fill out an application? The employee gets paid extra if they get you to fill out the application. So they're all pushing credit on you, And yet Warren Buffett, whom I mentioned earlier, third richest person in America, he teaches don't get in debt. In fact, a lot of my mentors teach how to get out of debt, and I teach that too. But I'll give around $5,000 in presents this holiday season. My wife and I, we're beyond that point where we give each other presents to try to impress each other. We know we don't need that anymore. I have everything I need in life, really. I still want a nice boat and maybe a little private plane too. And I'll get both of those probably next year or so. Because why not, But I'll give $5,000 in presents this holiday season. And I'll probably spend less than $500 on those. And you wonder how that's possible. And I won't incur any debt while doing that at all. I don't buy anything on credit. If I don't have the money for it, I don't buy it. I don't even own any credit cards. I use debit cards. I use my PayPal debit card, and I use a couple of bank debit cards. So I only spend money I have. And, when the average person goes to a car dealer, the dealer focuses the prospect's attention on. I didn't know my throat's going to be this dry, but that's what I get for walking outside before giving on a presentation. What we're experiencing here in Northwest Florida is, and I've got a second computer running, that's why I'm looking to my right here. But what we're experiencing here in Northwest Florida is drastic changes in temperatures. 2 days ago, the lows were 75 at night. And last night, the low was in the 50s. And then over the next 10 days, we're going to have some lows in the 40s where it won't even, and highs where it won't even get out of the 50s. And so our temperatures are varying so much that that's affecting me a little as I go outside and walk in shorts and t-shirts. And but I walk when the sun's up usually. I sometimes walk in the middle of the night. But I'm rambling a little. I'll show you how, like last year, I think it was last year, I gave a couple $1,000s in gifts, and I spent less than $100 on those gifts. And I'll even tell you how I did that. I'm a member of a barter exchange, and the way a barter exchange works, or a barter club works, is business owners have excess inventory or things that they are not using, or things they're not using. And so they think, well, why don't I sell or give this to another business owner, and one of my friends tells me I'm getting a message on my cell phone. One of my friends tells me I lost audio, but my mic shows me I'm still online. So could be me moving around too much. That was my friend Danny. So hopefully you guys, most of you can hear me. But yeah, I don't need. I'm looking at my notes too. Yeah, I see a lot of friends have joined me since then. William Cheney, Teresa Ball, Teresa and I are work on a similar project that I'll tell you about. And in fact, I mentioned to you that I send greeting cards for less than the cost of postage. The way I do that is I have an account, and my friend Danny tells me sounds back now. Um, but I send greeting cards from an account where I pay $97 a month to send an unlimited number of greeting cards. And that account allows me to just log into my computer, compose a card, and send it to anyone in the world. And that card, typically, I go to a lot of seminars, conferences, I go on a lot of cruises, I meet a lot of people just out walking around, and I'll take a selfie or whatever with that person. I get their address, I send them the card. And when I do that, I've also added them to my contact manager. So they're now in my database, and I can keep in touch with them. I'll ask them, when's your birthday or your anniversary? And if I enter that in my database, then the system kicks out something that tells me a week in advance, this person has a birthday coming up, and I'll send them a card. So I'm a power card sender. And so I send an average of 10 cards a day, which is 300 cards a month. I'm paying $97 a month to send 300 cards. And that $97 includes the postage anywhere in the world. So, you divide $97 by 300 and you get 32.3 something cents per card. That includes the postage. It's like, if I go to Walmart, I could take my camera and plug it in, my iPhone or whatever, and download my photos to a machine in Walmart and let me print a personalized card where I upload my pictures to the card. That's going to cost me, I don't know, was it $3 or $4 at Walmart? But most card shops are going to charge me like $5 for a top quality, really glossy, really nice looking card. And I'm sending for 32 cents, and that includes the cost of the postage. So I'm paying less than the cost of the postage to send the stamp, less than the cost of the stamp to send the card. And that's very powerful. And I'm mentioning this because that is part of how I'm building my retirement income. I'm with a company called Send Out Cards, which I've been with for 14 years now, since 2004. And when I tell people about how this opportunity with them, I earn a commission off of all the cards, and you can send gifts to the system too. So all the cards and all the gifts they send, I earn 20%, but it's multi-level. It's multi-level marketing, which is not an evil thing. The difference between multi-level marketing and your local store is, or branded products, is that, branded products like Firestone or whoever, they pay to advertise. Multi-level marketing takes that advertising dollar, and instead of paying it to some outside agency, they pay it to people who spread the word. That's how multi-level marketing works. And while I'm on that topic, when you look at a multi-level marketing company, I get people approach me every single day about joining their network marketing company. Well, first of all, I've been trained not to be an MLM junkie. So I believe you should only be in one, maybe two companies at a time, where maybe they complement each other and they don't compete against each other. And so, like, I showed you the essential oils. This is offered through a multi-level marketing company too. And I came into that because my daughter uses the product and showed it to me, and I like the product. I have things like lavender oil and peppermint oil and a lot of things that I use in my daily life. Lavender soothes and relaxes you. Peppermint calms the stomach if you have a tendency to have stomach upset or IBS or whatever. And so, these are products I use every day. Same with the greeting cards. I wouldn't have joined Send Out Cards had I not seen that it fit in with what I was doing. I was building an online business and an offline business, a consulting business, where it's all about relationships, okay? It's all about relationships. People buy from people they know, like, and trust. And part of getting people to know, like, and trust you is them saying that you like and care about them, that you honestly care about them. You know, you can't be manipulative. You have to really care about people. And as I approach the end of my 60th trip around the sun, uh, well, yeah, I'll turn 60 next March. I asked myself, so what legacy am I leading? Leaving. What am I really doing for the world? And so it's not about manipulating people; it's about improving people's lives. That's why I'm actually doing this recording right now. It's like I don't want to sell anything to anyone, and I make a living from selling. We all make livings from selling, whether you're just selling yourself to a potential mate or whatever. You're always selling. There's nothing wrong with that. But I ask myself, is this really adding value to people's lives? And I believe that the cards do, because you touch people. And a lot of people, I sent my father's only surviving sibling, who's 80 or 95 right now, I sent her a greeting card. And on it, I said, I was just thinking about you. And I sent a package of brownies in the package too, because I use that Send Out Cards platform that I'll give you a link to below this presentation. But she got on the phone and she called me afterwards, and she's practically in tears, and her daughter's there with her. And first of all, they figured out who Willie Crawford was, because when I was growing up, I was known as by my middle name, Darnell. And so she's like, who is this from? And then when she figured it out, she was practically in tears. And she called me and she said, my father had a bunch of brothers and sisters. She's the only one of the siblings surviving. So I stay in touch with her regularly. And that's important. So it's all about relationships, though. It's all about relationships. I have customers that I've had customers spend $10,000 with me without even giving it a second thought. And it's because they know, like, and trust me. Those $10,000 customers, I brought most of them on through a presentation at a seminar where I talked about my topic, which was at the time joint venture brokering. And then I had a breakout session off to the side. So after I finished my presentation, I invited them to join me in a room off to the side, and they got to ask me questions. And so they got to know me, and I was very honest with them because I care about my customers. And I don't want anyone to purchase anything from me they're not going to use. A lot of my audience members buy a lot of things they don't use at all. And I say, if you're not going to use it, relatively soon, don't buy it. I'm going to if you're on my mailing list, I'm going to recommend things to you. That's how I earn my living. But if you're not going to use it and use it relatively soon, don't buy it. I was at one seminar that was sponsored by my friend Michael Penland, where this elderly gentleman was in the back of the room, and he was buying everything sold by every speaker. And I finished my presentation. It was a $5,000 package. And I finished my presentation, and he walks up to me. He says, I really like your package. He says, I'm going to get it. And I said, so what do you do? He says, well, I'm still thinking about it. I said, well, what do you mean thinking about it? He said, well, I've got a computer, but I don't use it very much. But I'm just thinking about it. He said, but I liked your presentation, and I liked your package. And I said, you don't need my package, And he was upset that I would not sell him my package. But I don't know whether he was suffering from Alzheimer's or something like that, but he was buying everything offered by every speaker in the room, and I refused to sell him my package. It's like, I don't need your money. I mean, it would have been nice to have, especially since he would probably never used it. So I wouldn't have had any energy expenditure required to fulfill his order, and that happens from time to time. But my point is that I don't encourage you to buy anything you don't need, okay? I mentioned a number of things already in this presentation. One was I mentioned that I send greeting cards for 33 cents anywhere in the world, first class postage. And that's incredible. So I'm going to give you that link. I mentioned that I'll probably give thousands of dollars in presents this year, and I'll pay 10 cents on the dollar. That's through a barter club I'm in. I started playing the barter club, but I jumped around a little bit. Some of the biggest members of barter clubs are businesses that have what I call, or what we call, perishables. hotels, newspapers, magazines, things like that. See, cruise ships. See, if a cruise ship takes off and it's got empty cabins, the real cost of operating that cruise ship is the fuel and the staff. But that's a fixed cost. When you travel so many miles, you're going to burn so much fuel. Once you get the ship moving, you're not going to burn extra fuel just by adding a few extra people on board. So why travel with an empty cabin? You can take that cabin, offer it to Carnival Cruise Line, offered their cabins to radio stations around the country, and let them use those, offer cruises and contests to engage their listeners, but also to get Carnival's message out. And that's how Carnival became, at one time, the largest cruise line in the world. I don't know if they still are or not. A magazine, all a magazine that needs to do, there are magazines that will charge you $50,000 to $100,000 or more for a quarter-page ad. What that costs in a magazine? They add another sheet of paper to the magazine. And if you add another sheet of paper and you're selling quarter-page ads, you've got 4 on the front, 4 on the back, so you got 8. And if you sell that to somebody and you say, well, this normally costs, I don't know, $50,000 in a high-end magazine. Okay, so you got 8 times 50, which I'm trying to do math now, is 8 times 50 is, what's that, $400,000 that they can generate by adding another sheet of paper to their magazine. Well, what's that cost them? Just the extra sheet of paper. So magazines are very open to doing barter. Newspapers, I run regular newspaper ads in my local newspaper. A radio station can let the DJ babble on and on and on, or they can sell a 15 or 30-second commercial. And instead of selling, they can exchange it on barter for, when you get into the barter world, you're paid in barter dollars, and those barter dollars you use to buy things that you need. So a hotel may, a hotel, if a hotel has, most hotels never go beyond 70, maybe 80% occupancy rate. So they've always got 20% or 30% of the rooms empty. And the only cost of servicing that room is maid service, and they've got the maids already on staff, or the housekeeping staff already there. So why not exchange that room with another business owner, gain some dollars that you can use for something you need, like, I don't know, carpet cleaning, things that they don't have in-house, carpet cleaning, maybe some repairs, things along that line. See, the barter world, the barter club I'm in has 25,000 business owners in the U.S. and Canada, and we exchange all kinds of things. And I mentioned earlier that I'm going to buy, thousands of dollars worth of Christmas presents, but that I can also go out and buy a $5,000 ring, sell it for $3,000, still make a profit. I can do that because I can buy it to my barter club. So how do I get the $5,000 to buy the $5,000 ring? I sell digital products like many of you do. So I get products that are, audios, videos, access to my membership sites. I can sell those. And what those cost me to deliver? Nothing. I'm selling electrons, but I charge full price for it. In the barter world, we don't give discounts. We don't ask for discounts. We sell things to people at full price. So I get legal services. I get dental services. I get it's paralegal, actually. Most lawyers won't do it, but paralegals will do stuff for you, like wills and powers of attorney and non-disclosure agreements and things like that. So all those things there's people mechanics, so you get your car repaired. There's contractors who will do home repairs. Anything you can imagine in the business world is probably available in the barter world. And so I sell them digital products, okay? Digital products, which is electrons, and I don't need to restock anything. And I exchange that for, say, a real world diamond ring. And then I turn around and I'll sell that in the offline world, maybe on eBay, maybe put an ad in a newspaper, or give it as a present. Last year I gave away, last year I gave away 2 large screen TVs. I gave away some lawn furniture. I gave away all kinds of stuff that I purchased on barter for about 10 cents on the dollar. So that's how I do that. So when I tell you that I do all these magical things and they seem like I don't, like, Willie, you're full of shit, if you pardon my French. I'm not. I know things a lot of people don't know, and it's because I've been exposed to a lot of people who taught me these things. But more importantly, I use what they taught me. You see, most of you know a lot of things. You know, most of you know everything you need to know. I mean, I'm forever learning. I read 2 to 5 books a week, depending on how busy my schedule is. And when I go out for my walks, I often have my iPhone, and on my iPhone, I have audio. I have audio and video loaded, but I don't watch video while I'm walking because I have a tendency to walk in places where there's snakes and bears and gators and traffic at times. So it's better to listen than to watch a video. I've almost stepped on snakes before while watching a video, so I don't do that anymore. But I also don't feel guilty getting my exercise in, which I emphasize too. It's very important to take care of your health. Again, I turned 60 in March, and I'm healthier than many 35-year-olds, and I want to stay that way. So I get exercise in every day, and I take care of. I eat properly too. Another thing is, while right now certificates of deposit at many banks is paying less than 2%, and so all these investments at banks are paying nothing. Mutual funds, a lot of them are paying nothing. I get 18 to 36% interest on my money all the time, and it's risk free. And you go, well, how the heck do you do that? Well, I invest in tax lien certificates and tax deeds. Let me explain that, and that'll be the last thing I'll explain to you today because I'm taking up a little bit too much time, more time than I plan on taking. But local municipalities, whether it's your county, your whatever, they pay for services. They pay to operate with tax money. So they tax property owners. And if they don't get that money from the property owners are taxing, they have no revenue to operate, to run the police department, the fire department, maybe some rescue unit, to run schools, to maybe do some highway repairs within their area of responsibility. So they need the tax revenue. So if some citizen doesn't pay their taxes, then the municipality struggles. And so to avoid that struggle, the municipality says, okay, citizen, you owe, whatever in taxes, you haven't paid it. So we're going to put a lien on your property. So they put a lien on the property, and then they issue a tax lien certificate that has the value of the overdue taxes, but they charge a penalty to the property owner when they pay those taxes late. What they do then is they turn around and offer that tax lien certificate to an investor like me. And when the property owner comes in and pays their overdue taxes, whether it's a day from when I buy it or a year from when I buy it, they charge that property owner the back taxes plus the penalty. They turn around and send that back taxes plus the penalty to me. In Florida, it's 18%. It ranges from 10% in some municipalities up to 36% in some municipalities. It used to go up to 50% in some municipalities, but I think the top one that I'm aware of now is 36%. And that's every county in the United States of America offers tax lien certificates or tax deeds. Tax deeds are different. I'll explain that in a second. And so, but nobody talks about that. The reason that your investment advisor or your banker doesn't talk about it, 2 reasons. One is that that's how they make money. The biggest investor in tax lien certificates or tax deeds is banks. They're paying you 1.5% on a certificate of deposit, and they're collecting 18% from taking your money and investing it. So they're making 16.5% profit. That's how they make their money. So there's no incentive for them to tell you about tax lien certificates. I learned about it from a business law professor when I was in college, who in front of the classroom joked about buying some poor widow's house for $2,000 and it was worth like $150,000. Well, he paid the back taxes on it. And while he was joking like he was being evil, he's not being evil because he's paying for the county to continue operating, and that person's going to lose their property anyway if they didn't pay their back taxes. So whether it's you that steps in and pays the back tax, someone else, if they would have caught up on their taxes, they wouldn't have lost their property. And some municipalities like Florida are very generous. They'll give the taxpayer, several opportunities to pay their taxes beyond that 1 year period. But then your investment compounds when they do pay it. There are some municipalities that issue tax deed certificates. What happens there is they give a taxpayer so much time to pay their back taxes. If that taxpayer doesn't pay their back taxes, they take their property and sell it at auction. And the starting price at the auction is the back taxes. So people in the know go to these auctions, and the wise ones have checked out the property beforehand. You don't even need, actually, you can bid over the internet now. You can do sealed bids and stuff like that, and you don't even need to travel there. If you're smart, you'll probably hire someone who lives in the area, maybe a realtor or somebody, to go by and take a look at the property and send you some pictures or whatever. But you can use something like Google Earth, which you can take Google Earth. You have my address. You can zero in on my house, read the license plate on my wife's car. That's how good the satellites are in outer space now. So you don't need to be there, be physically there to check out a property. And anywhere in the world right now, actually, I mean, we've mapped the Earth with space shuttle missions and things like that. So it's all there. The data is there, and tax records are a matter of public record. So you can check out, what the property is really worth and condition, assessed value, and all those things like that. So this is a very powerful investment. Most people don't know about it because your investment advisor is not going to tell you about it. And the reason they're not going to tell you about it is there's no commission in it for them. They can't, well, I guess they could put together some type of fund, but typically they can't earn money from telling you about tax lien certificates. So they'll tell you to invest in mutual funds or whatever, because a lot of them work for the mutual fund companies. So I'm telling you stuff that most people aren't going to tell you. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to invite you to join a private Facebook group that I have that'll cost you nothing. I mean, $0 ever, ever, ever. And in this group, I share things like this with my group members. The reason it's private is because I don't deal with a lot of drama. I don't want drama in my life. I mean, I watch the presidential election and I vote the way I vote. I don't even discuss what politicians I support. I voted Democrat, Republican, Independent. I have my opinion, but I don't change anybody else's mind very often by arguing, except for those who are non-decided. And I noticed Noriani joined me. I think she's over in Singapore, I believe. Yeah, I haven't been to Singapore since 2006, so I recognize a lot of names. And my buddy, or a guy I respect very much, actually, two of them, actually, Stephen Pierce's on and Todd Brown's on, and Ellen Violette's on. If you didn't catch her podcast where she was my guest, talking about writing a book in 3 days or less. She teaches you how to do that. So certainly check out her. I'm going to post somewhere on my wall the link to the podcast I did with her later today. But Noriani, when I was over in Singapore, she gave me a copy of one of her book, which is a cookbook of recipes from her part of the world. And I still have that in my library. And my wife has actually fixed some of those dishes. So welcome all you guys. I need to go ahead and wrap things up, I guess. But to join my private Facebook group, just send me a message via Facebook Messenger and tell me you want to join the group. And in that group, I discuss a lot of things like this that I don't put out in the public that often. I put out 3 things today that, while I don't try to keep them secret, I mean, about barter, about tax lien certificates, and about my involvement with an MLM that I've been with for 14 years, and that's going to play a very big part in my semi-retiring next year. I'm actually building a team. That's why I mentioned that. So I want you to reach out to me and say, tell me more about this. Tell me how I can make more money. I mentioned Teresa Ball. Teresa's on my team, but she's also a superstar and may soon pass me by because she's so good at what she does. But reach out to me via Facebook Messenger and say, I want to join your group, and I'll add you to my group, provided I know you're not a troublemaker. And if you're not a friend, I think you need to be a friend in order for me to just grab your name. If you give me the email address that's associated with your Facebook account, when you add someone to a group, you can either use their name or their email address. When you use a name, if it's a common name, if I type in Mike Smith, Facebook may have 50 Mike Smiths, and if I don't know what you look like, I don't know which one to add. So that's why sometimes I need your email address. But if you're a friend, it's going to tell me you're a friend, and it'll pop up your profile, and I'll know it's the right person. You can also contact me via email. Email is Willie, WILLIE .Crawford @gmail.com. Willie.Crawford @gmail.com. Now, I do live streams most days, 10 o'clock Central, which is 11 o'clock Eastern, which is 8 o'clock Pacific. And I do those inside my Facebook marketing group. On my marketing page, I broadcast on the page, and that page is at facebook.com/Willie Crawford Marketing Tips. I'll paste that in the comment section now because I have that handy. I encourage you to tune in there any day at 10 o'clock Central, and it's just like this, except, sorry, where's my water? Except that I chose to broadcast this over my page itself, and I try to keep these things 15 minutes or less, but I see right now that I've gone 40 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. I want to thank you all for joining me. If any of you commented on my timeline, I wasn't following those very closely during the broadcast, but I will respond to any of your comments. And maybe I should get some cough drops or something. I don't take any drugs of any kind except for a blood pressure medication because my blood pressure spiked like 200 over 196 over 140 at one time. My doctor's freaked, Now it's back to 120 over 80 or something, and it's largely controlled naturally, but the doctors give me the meds, and I figure, why not take them, Why take chances? I want to live to be 200. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you again for joining me, and I'll see you later.